There's something extraordinary happening in your life right now, and you might not even realize it. The fact that you're here listening to these words at this exact moment isn't a coincidence. It's the universe responding to a call you've been sending out, perhaps without even knowing it. You see, there's an ancient truth that's been whispered through the corridors of time, passed down through generations of wisdom keepers, and it's finally ready to reveal itself to you. Throughout history, there have been those who understood something profound about the nature of existence. They knew that life operates on principles far deeper than what meets the eye. These weren't just philosophers or mystics living in ivory towers. They were ordinary people who discovered extraordinary truths about how reality actually works. And here's what they understood. This knowledge doesn't come to you when you're desperately searching for it. It finds you when you're ready, when your soul has reached the exact vibration needed to receive it. Think about the most significant moments of insight in your own life. Did they come when you were frantically looking for answers, or did they arrive quietly, almost unexpectedly, in moments of stillness? Maybe it was during a walk in nature, or in the silence after a storm, or in that peaceful space just before sleep. This is how ancient knowledge works. It doesn't force its way into your awareness. It waits for the perfect moment when your mind is open and your heart is receptive. The sages of old understood that the universe operates like a vast, intelligent system, constantly responding to the frequencies we emit through our thoughts, feelings, and intentions. They discovered that we're not separate from this system, we're integral parts of it, each one of us broadcasting signals that shape the reality we experience. What's remarkable is that this isn't just ancient mysticism. Modern science is now catching up to what these wisdom traditions have known for millennia. Consider the profound implications of quantum entanglement, where particles separated by vast distances instantly influence each other, or the observer effect, where the simple act of observation changes the behavior of subatomic particles. These discoveries are revealing that consciousness and reality are far more interconnected than we ever imagined. The ancients called this the web of existence, a unified field where every thought, every emotion, every intention ripples out and returns to us multiplied. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. This ancient knowledge isn't something you have to learn from scratch. It's already encoded within you, written into the very fabric of your being. Every cell in your body carries the memory of this wisdom. Your heart knows rhythms that connect you to the pulse of the universe. Your breath follows patterns that ancient yogis recognized as bridges between the physical and spiritual realms. You might have noticed this in moments of deep intuition when you just knew something without being able to explain how, or in times when you felt an inexplicable connection to something greater than yourself. These aren't random experiences, they're glimpses of the ancient knowledge awakening within you. They're reminders that you carry within your very essence the same wisdom that guided the great teachers, healers, and visionaries throughout history. The ancient mystery schools taught that there are specific moments in each person's life when they become ready to receive deeper truths. These moments aren't determined by age or education or social status. They're determined by the soul's readiness, by the accumulated experiences that have prepared the consciousness to expand beyond its current limitations. The teachers would say that when the student is ready, the knowledge appears, often in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes this knowledge comes through a chance encounter with a stranger who says exactly what you need to hear. Sometimes it arrives through a book that seemingly falls into your hands at the perfect moment. Other times it emerges from within during meditation, prayer, or even in dreams. The ancient ones understood that the universe has infinite ways of delivering its messages, and it will always choose the method that you're most likely to recognize and accept. This brings us to something truly profound about the nature of this ancient wisdom. It's not just information to be stored in your mind, it's a living energy that transforms you from the inside out. When true knowledge finds you, it doesn't just add to what you know, it fundamentally changes who you are. It shifts your perception, opens your heart, and aligns you with forces that were always there but previously invisible to you. The masters of antiquity spoke of this as awakening, not because you were asleep, but because you were dreaming a limited dream of what was possible. They understood that most people live their entire lives seeing only a tiny fraction of reality, like someone looking at the world through a keyhole and believing that's all there is. But when ancient knowledge activates within you, the door opens, and you begin to see the vast landscape that was always surrounding you. This is why the timing of when this knowledge finds you is so crucial. If it came too early, before you had the life experiences necessary to appreciate its depth, you might dismiss it as too abstract or impractical. If it came too late, after you had become too rigid in your thinking, you might resist it as too challenging to your established beliefs. But when it arrives at exactly the right moment, it feels like remembering something you had forgotten, like coming home to a truth you've always known but couldn't quite access. The ancient traditions teach that this knowledge operates through what they call sympathetic resonance, just as a tuning fork will cause another tuning fork of the same frequency to vibrate. Your consciousness, when it reaches a certain level of development, begins to resonate with universal truths. This resonance draws the knowledge to you like a magnet, creating synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, and opportunities for insight that seem almost magical in their timing and relevance. You might have already experienced this in small ways. Perhaps you've noticed that when you're struggling with a particular challenge, the perfect piece of advice seems to appear from nowhere. Or when you're contemplating a major life decision, signs and confirmations begin showing up everywhere you look. This isn't wishful thinking or selective perception. It's the ancient principle of resonance at work, drawing to you exactly what you need when you need it most. The wisdom keepers of old also understood something profound about the nature of need itself. They recognized that our greatest needs aren't always for material things or external solutions. Often, what we need most desperately is a shift in perspective, a new way of seeing, a deeper understanding of our purpose and potential. The ancient knowledge that finds you might not give you what you think you want, but it will always give you exactly what your soul requires for its next stage of evolution. This is why patience becomes such a crucial virtue on the spiritual path. The ego wants answers now, solutions immediately, transformation overnight. But the soul operates on a different timeline, one that's perfectly synchronized with the cosmic rhythms of growth and unfoldment. When you learn to trust this deeper timing, you begin to relax into the flow of life, knowing that everything you need will arrive precisely when you're capable of receiving it and integrating it effectively. There's something particularly beautiful about how this ancient knowledge often arrives during our darkest moments, not because the universe is cruel or because suffering is necessary, but because it's often in our times of greatest challenge that we become most open to new possibilities. When our old ways of thinking and being are no longer working, when we've exhausted our familiar strategies and solutions, we naturally become more receptive to wisdom that might have seemed impossible or irrelevant during easier times. The great mystics throughout history have spoken of this as the dark night of the soul, not as punishment, but as preparation. It's during these periods of uncertainty and struggle that the shell of our limited identity begins to crack, creating space for something larger and more luminous to emerge. The ancient knowledge doesn't come to rescue you from these experiences. It comes to show you how they can become the very foundation of your transformation. As you reflect on your own life, you might begin to recognize moments when this ancient wisdom was already trying to reach you. Maybe there were insights you had but didn't fully trust. Perhaps there were opportunities for growth that you weren't quite ready to embrace. Or maybe there were signs and synchronicities that you noticed but dismissed as mere coincidence. Understanding this doesn't mean you missed your chance. It means you're becoming more aware of how this process works, which prepares you to recognize and receive the knowledge that's waiting to find you now. The ancient teachers also understood that this knowledge doesn't come to create a new identity for you to wear like a costume. Instead, it comes to strip away the false identities you've accumulated, revealing the luminous being you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and expectation. This can be both exhilarating and terrifying because it asks you to let go of familiar ways of seeing yourself and step into an expanded version of who you really are. This process of revelation happens gradually for most people, unfolding layer by layer like the petals of a flower opening to the sun. Each insight prepares you for the next one. Each breakthrough creates space for an even deeper understanding. The ancient knowledge is patient and wise, never overwhelming you with more than you can handle, always calibrating itself to your current capacity for integration and embodiment. What's truly remarkable is how this knowledge adapts itself to your unique circumstances, personality, and life path. The same eternal truths that guided an ancient sage in a monastery will find completely different expressions when they reach a modern person living in a busy city. This isn't because the truth changes, but because truth is infinitely creative in how it manifests, always finding the perfect form to reach each individual consciousness. You might find this ancient wisdom speaking to you through art, music, or poetry that suddenly takes on profound meaning. It might come through conversations with friends who somehow say exactly what you need to hear. It could arrive through experiences in nature that open your heart to truths that can't be captured in words. Or it might emerge from within during quiet moments of reflection, rising up from the depths of your being like water from an underground spring. The key is learning to recognize these moments and honor them when they occur. This means developing what the ancients called inner listening, the ability to sense the subtle movements of truth within your consciousness. It means creating space in your life for silence and reflection, because wisdom often whispers rather than shouts. And it means cultivating trust in your own capacity to receive and understand truths that your rational mind might initially resist or question. There's also something important to understand about how this ancient knowledge works once it finds you. It doesn't come with a guarantee that your life will suddenly become easy or that all your problems will disappear. Instead, it comes with something far more valuable: the understanding that you have within you everything you need to navigate whatever life brings your way. This knowledge transforms your relationship with challenges, revealing them as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to happiness. The wisdom traditions teach that when you align with this ancient understanding, you begin to live from a place of inner strength and clarity that's independent of external circumstances. You discover that peace isn't the absence of turmoil, but the presence of an unshakable center that remains calm regardless of what's happening around you. You learn that love isn't just an emotion you feel for certain people, but a fundamental force that connects you to all of existence. As you practice living from this deeper understanding, you might notice that your life begins to flow with greater ease and grace, not because you're avoiding difficulties, but because you're approaching them with wisdom instead of fear, with trust instead of resistance. You start to see patterns and connections that were previously invisible. You begin to sense the intelligence that orchestrates the seemingly random events of your life. This is when something truly magical begins to happen. You realize that you're not just receiving ancient knowledge, you're becoming a vehicle for its expression in the world. The wisdom that finds you begins to flow through you to others who are ready to receive it. You become part of the eternal chain of transmission that has kept these truths alive through countless generations. This doesn't mean you need to become a teacher or guru in any formal sense. It simply means that your very presence begins to carry a quality of peace and understanding that others can feel. Your words, actions, and even your silence become expressions of the wisdom that has found its way to you. You discover that the most profound teaching often happens without any intention to teach, simply through the authentic embodiment of truth. The ancient texts speak of this as becoming a hollow reed through which the divine can play its song. You don't lose your individuality or personality, but you begin to serve something larger than your personal desires and concerns. Your life becomes an offering, a living demonstration of what's possible when human consciousness aligns with eternal wisdom. As we come to understand this process more deeply, we begin to see that the ancient knowledge finding us is really about remembering our true nature. We're not learning something foreign or exotic. We're recalling something fundamental about who we are and why we're here. Every truth that resonates deeply within you is actually a recognition, a moment of saying, "Yes, I remember this," rather than, "Oh, this is new." This is why the greatest teachers throughout history have always pointed back to the student's own inner wisdom. They understood that their role wasn't to give you something you didn't have, but to remind you of treasures you had temporarily forgotten. The Buddha spoke of everyone having Buddha nature. Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is within you. The Hindu sages proclaimed that you are already that which you seek. When this ancient knowledge finds you, it doesn't make you special or chosen in a way that separates you from others. Instead, it reveals the extraordinary nature that exists within every human being, waiting for the right moment to be awakened. You begin to see that everyone you meet is carrying the same potential for wisdom and transformation, even if they're not yet aware of it themselves. This understanding naturally cultivates compassion, not just for others who are struggling to find their way, but for yourself as well. You begin to see your own journey with greater kindness, recognizing that every mistake, every detour, every moment of confusion was actually part of the perfect timing that brought you to this point of readiness. Nothing was wasted, nothing was wrong, everything was preparation for this moment of awakening to who you really are. The ancient knowledge that finds you will also reveal something profound about the nature of time itself. You'll begin to understand that the past, present, and future are not separate segments of experience, but different facets of an eternal now. The wisdom you're receiving today has always been available, waiting in the timeless realm for the perfect moment to intersect with your timeline. Similarly, the insights you gain now will continue to unfold and deepen throughout your life, revealing new layers of meaning as you grow in understanding. This is why the ancient masters often spoke in parables, symbols, and metaphors that could be understood at multiple levels. They knew that the same teaching could offer simple comfort to a beginner and profound revelation to an advanced practitioner. The truth they were conveying was designed to grow with the student, always offering exactly the right depth of insight for each stage of development. As you continue on this journey of awakening, you might find that your relationship with seeking itself begins to transform. Instead of desperately grasping for answers outside yourself, you learn to cultivate a quality of open receptivity, trusting that what you need will find its way to you at the perfect time. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on growth and learning. Rather, it means approaching your development with a sense of partnership with the universe, contributing your effort and attention while allowing space for grace and guidance to work through you. The ancient knowledge that finds you will ultimately lead you to a place of profound gratitude, not just for the insights you receive, but for the entire journey that brought you to this point of readiness. You'll begin to see that even your struggles and challenges were gifts, preparing your consciousness to receive truths that could only be appreciated by someone who had walked through those particular experiences. Every moment of your life, seen from this perspective, becomes sacred, charged with meaning and purpose that extends far beyond what you might have previously imagined. This gratitude becomes a powerful force in itself, opening your heart even wider to receive whatever wisdom wants to flow through you next. It creates an upward spiral of receptivity and insight, where each moment of appreciation makes you more available for the next level of understanding. You discover that thankfulness isn't just a nice feeling, but an actual technology for accelerating your spiritual evolution. As we reach the end of our exploration together, remember that this isn't really an ending, but a beginning. The words you've heard today are seeds planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness, and they will continue to sprout and grow in ways you can't yet imagine. Trust that the ancient knowledge that brought you to this moment will continue to guide you forward, revealing itself in perfect timing as you continue to evolve and expand. The universe has infinite patience and infinite creativity in how it delivers its gifts to each one of us. Your job isn't to figure out when or how the next insight will come, but simply to remain open, aware, and grateful for the miracle that's already unfolding in your life. The ancient knowledge that finds you when you need it most isn't separate from who you are. It's the deepest truth of your being finally revealing itself. Welcome home to yourself, to this moment, and to the endless wonder of conscious existence.